It is a fairy tale-like story. A girl commoner from Australia and a prince from Denmark. They met by accident. They got married, had 4 kids, and now they are king and queen of the kingdom. Is it a real fairy tale? No, it's not. It's reality. Because today I'm gonna tell you a bit about the love story of Fred and Mary, the new King and Queen of Denmark. Hi, my name is Anna and welcome to On Royals. If you haven't done yet, subscribe my channel in order to support it. You got to know Mary a bit better in the previous episode, so now I'm gonna let you know who's Frederik in just few sentences, focusing on his dating career. He is the elder son of QueenMargrethe II of Denmark and Prince Henrik. He was born in Copenhagen in 1968, and when he met Mary, he was 32 in 2000. In the 90s, he earned the title of party prince. He was partying a lot and had many girlfriends, which Danish papers happily reported about and asked, is this the future Queen of Denmark? None of them was. And also, despite the Danish public fondness of the prince, he struggled with his role as the heir to the throne. He struggled until he met Mary. But how did Frederik and Mary met? In September 2000, during the Summer Olympic Games in Sydney. It was really a special time, 25th Summer Olympic Games, millennium year. A lot of people came to see the games, and also European aristocrats and royals, as Crown Prince Frederik himself with his brother Joachim, Greek cousin Nicolaus, the future king of Spain Felipe, and Norwegian princess Martha Louise. They gathered for a party one night in a famous then a bit fashionable bar Slip-In. They also knew Beatrice Tarnowski, who was also an acquaintance of Mary's roommate. So by a friend of a friend of a friend, Mary and Frederik landed on the same party the same night in a Slip-In bar in Sydney. The group introduced themselves by first names. So Frederik reportedly introduced himself as Fred from Denmark, so without revealing any royal titles. A discussion around the table was about heavy or shaved men's chests. Reportedly, men around the table had uncovered some of their torso, and the girls were able to discuss which one has better chest. Which seems very funny as for European royals in a Sydney bar, but that was the topic of the conversation. Years later, during their engagement interview, Mary recalled, "The first time we met, we shook hands, and I didn't know he was the Crown Prince of Denmark. An hour or so later, someone came up to me and said, 'Do you know who these people are?' So the bar's manager, who then after many years shared his story about this night, mentioned that the bar employees, they didn't know who are people in the bar. They only noticed a black American Express card, which was very odd and unusual, and they knew that it must be someone important, but they didn't know who is it. They found out the next day that European royalty partied at their bar. Immediately, a connection between Frederik and Mary was formed, and they talked through the night. At the end, Frederik asked Mary for her phone number. In an interview on her 50th birthday, Mary mentioned that she was enchanted by Frederik's conversation skills, and the conversation brought them closer together. In her experience talking to him was very easy. He was always interested and present. He was charming and handsome. And those were basically her first impressions. However, she emphasized that their long-distance relationship and getting to know each other from afar worked really well and naturally. According to her, the conversation has started and seemed to have no end. They wrote emails and traditional letters to each other. They called each other, sent some CDs, and basically got to know each other calmly in an old-fashioned way. At that time, Frederik was only for a few days in Australia, so as Mary mentioned, their relationship was for a long time long-distance relationship. Even though Frederik has found every single possible excuse to come to Australia. The Danish press caught the wind of the princess romance with an Australian girl in November 2001, and they found Mary. They started to photograph her, and she herself mentioned that that was the time her life changed over the night, because she was no longer a private person. She was now the girlfriend of a Danish prince. It was the moment when the couple decided that Mary will move to Europe, first to Paris and then in September 2002 to Copenhagen, when she started job at Microsoft, but also she learned Danish, or started learning Danish when she was in Copenhagen. In January 2003, in Australia, they kissed publicly. And it was a big thing because Prince Frederik, he never kissed any of his girlfriends publicly in front of the press. So it was a big thing, and everyone knew that something is cooking there, that it has to be something very, very, very serious. And it was. In the summer of 2003, even QueenMargrethe said during a press conference in her summer residence in France that Mary will be a very good daughter-in-law. In summer of 2003, the engagement was not yet set in stone, but definitely certain. And Prince Frederik has sent a letter to Mary's dad. He was by then in Korea, where he was a professor at a university. He received a letter from Frederik and decided to let them marry. Then after, Mary and Frederik went to Rome for a little holiday in Rome, because they apparently never been before. And in a beautiful place of Rome, Frederik decided to propose to Mary, and he proposed with a ring with diamonds and rubies. Which colors of diamonds and rubies, so white and red, are alike the Danish flag. That was, corresponding with the Danish flag. A beautiful ring, of course, and Mary said that she had to say yes. So she said yes, and since they were privately engaged, for the public engagement, the official approval was in October, 8th of October. Before, it was announced in September that the engagement will be approved by QueenMargrethe during one of the State of Council sessions in October, and it did. Then the new engaged couple showed up on a balcony, but also had a press conference, and the press conference was tricky for Mary because it was the first time she spoke Danish publicly to Danish people, but also they basically answered many questions about their relationship and their plans and everything. So it was a very, very beautiful moment. The wedding was planned for 14th of May 2004, and before the wedding, the couple invited Danish people to visit Australia with them, at least kind of, because they decided to film a documentary where they will present what was actually Mary's life in Australia. Viewers, they got to know Mary's family, her home, Tasmania, schools she went to, places she worked in, and yeah, her whole life story. So Danes could know her a bit more before she was marrying their prince. The wedding was huge. Not only European royals came to be a part of this, but many people gathered on the streets of Copenhagen, both Danish and Australian, and they were waving Australian and Danish flags. So it was a very crowded city at that time because everyone wanted to see a bit of this fairy tale. So Mary was in the gown from Danish designer Uffe Frank. And in the gown, in the dress, she had also inside of in a little pocket a ring of her mother, because her mother died unfortunately a few years prior. So at least she could have a piece of her mother with her. And she also wore a veil that has been a traditional wedding veil in Danish family for generations. She also had a beautiful tiara, which she got from her in-laws. So during the wedding, everyone was very moved, and Frederik, of course, cried. He's a very sensitive man, and he cried, and it was beautiful to see. And after the wedding, there was a wedding reception, and the Danish tradition says that there have to be multiple speeches during the reception. During her speech, QueenMargrethe said she showed the courage to place her future life in Denmark. May we always be worthy of her trust. The prince consort and I welcome her into our family and in her new country. So that was very moving then, because Mary was also very moved when QueenMargrethe said this, and this is something everyone remember from the ceremony. After the wedding, a couple flown away to Africa for their honeymoon. A year and a half after the wedding, they welcomed their first of 4 children, Prince Christian. Then they got Isabella, Vincent, and Josephine. Young parents chose to live not in Amalienborg in Copenhagen, but more on the outskirts in Fredensborg. For nearly 20 years, Frederik and Mary are repeatedly held up as an example of an ideal royal marriage. We can see they love each other and are close to each other, and they are a real team. Mary perfectly found herself in the role of crown princess and now the queen, and she also made Frederik shine. And Frederik, a lot of people says that Mary is the biggest asset of the Danish crown and the Danish royal family. And she was actually the person who made Frederik a real king, and he really got better in his role thanks to Mary. It is impossible not to mention the rumors that surfaced in November 2023. Frederik was photographed in Madrid with Genoveva Casanova, who is Mexican, but married at some point to Spanish aristocracy. A photo reportage was published in one of Spanish newspapers that spanned over 12 hours and caught Frederik in the nearest neighborhood, or just next to the building where Genoveva lives. Of course, it was in all the papers that it's a royal affair. Genoveva Casanova later denied the rumors publicly, and she threatened legal consequences for spreading false information about this. Palace never commented. I mention this because many people tend to believe in the gossips, initial gossip reports they see, and they believe this is true. And they are not questioning the gossips. If they seem a royal affair, they will believe there was a royal affair. A lot of people will not ask questions about the facts, and they will not read the follow-up articles if they are published about statements that were made by people who are actually mentioned in the articles. So I just want to state that it's very important to check your facts. And some of the gossips are true, but most of them are not. So certainly, despite also those rumors, the royal couple is super popular in Denmark. They have around 55% of approval from Danish people, so it's quite high. A lot of politicians would love to have this, and I look forward to watch the royal couple for many more years. Watch their love and how they are working as Queen and King of Denmark. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe and leave a comment if you want to support my channel and you would like to see more videos from my side. Thank you so much. Bye bye.